previous class we have discussed and differences the solid, liquid and gaseous state. Today we will discuss that why the matter exists in solid, liquid and gaseous state. It means we will discuss why solid, liquid and gases have different properties. Why? Because there are three factors which will determine the property of solid, liquid and gases. Let us discuss them one by one. It means the following property will determine whether a matter existing in solid, liquid and gaseous state. It means the same thing is here. Why a matter exists in solid or liquid or in gaseous state? What is the reason behind that? Let us discuss that property one by one. The first one is the interparticle force of attraction. The next one is the interparticle space and the next one is kinetic energy of particles. It means this three property will determine whether a matter exists in solid, liquid or in gaseous state. The first one what we see here is interparticle force of attraction. How we can distinguish whether matter exists in solid, liquid or in gas state? It means if the interparticle force of attraction is highest, it means the molecules are tightly packed, or we can say the atoms of the molecule have strongest force of attraction. If they have strongest force of attraction, then they will exist in solid state. Why? Because if the force of attraction is strongest, it has a fixed shape, it has fixed volume, it has fixed mass, because the force of attraction is stronger. To the next, if the interparticle force of attraction is somewhat lesser in comparison to the solid, then it will exist in liquid state, and in that state the volume is fixed but the shape is not fixed. So the next one, if we discuss of gaseous state, then in gaseous state their molecule have least force of attraction, or the particles of the gaseous have least force of attraction. That's why they have not fixed shape nor fixed volume. To the next, if we discuss the next property, interparticle space. It means we know in case of solid state they have least interparticle space. It means they are compactly packed, and if they are compactly packed, they have strongest force of attraction and they exist in solid state. And as the interparticle space increases, the solid changes to liquid. As further on increasing the interparticle space, it goes in gaseous state. To To the next, if we discuss about the kinetic energy, then in case of solid state, there is least kinetic energy, and the kinetic energy is only and only due to vibration motion along the mean position. To the next one, we know in case of liquid state, the molecule have somewhat more kinetic energy in comparison to solid state. It means they are somewhat more free, and so for that they undergo random motion. To the next, when we move to gaseous state, they have the most kinetic energy in all the three states of matter, and so for that they are more free, having more kinetic energy and have more random motion. What we know? Solid have greater force of attraction, liquid has lesser force of attraction in comparison to solid, and the gaseous has least force of attraction. So the next, in case of solid, it has less interparticle space. In case of liquid, it has greater interparticle space in comparison to solid, and in case of gas state, they have most greater interparticle space in comparison to solid and liquid. So the next one, if we discuss the kinetic energy, then in case of solid state, they have least kinetic energy. In case of liquid state, they have somewhat greater kinetic energy in comparison to solid state, and the gaseous has the most, or we can say it has the highest kinetic energy in all the three states of matter. So the next one, we will discuss the solid state. Let us discuss the solid state. In case of solid state, you know, in case of solid state, they have strongest force of attraction. This one is solid state. This one is solid. These are the particles of solid. The next one, this one is liquid state, and to the next one, this one is gas state. Let us discuss them one by one. In case of solid state, the particles are closer to each other. It means they have least interparticle space. The first one, they have least interparticle. They have least interparticle space because they are compactly packed. Because they are compactly packed. To the next one, if they are compactly packed, it means in lesser volume, they have a greater mass. It means they are compactly packed. As we have discussed, they have least interparticle space. It means they have high density. They have high density. To the next one, if they have least interparticle space, it means they have high density. It means they cannot be compressed. It means they cannot be compressed. To the next, if they are closely packed, it means they are closer to each other, then they have strong force of attraction in between the particle. It means they have they have strong force of attraction between the particles. The next, if they have strongest force in between the particle, it means they are not free to move, and if they are not free to move, then they have less kinetic energy. The next one is that they have less kinetic energy. It means they have less kinetic energy. It means what type of energy they have? They have kinetic energy only and only due to vibration motion. It means the molecules, the particles of solid are having strong force of attraction. So far, they are not free to move and have only vibration motion. That is, they will move along their mean position. The next one, in case of solid state, what we have studied, we know in case of solid state, there is strong force of attraction between the particle. If they have strong force of attraction in between the particle, it means they are tightly packed. It means they are not free to move. It means they have least kinetic energy. And that kinetic energy is only and only due to vibration motion. Vibration means the particle have only tendency. If this one is the mean position, then they will move here and then it will move here. It means this is known as vibration. This is mean position. To the next, we know the solid has fixed shape and fixed volume. Why it is so? Because they have strong force of attraction. To the next, they have fixed shape and fixed volume. Let us take an example if you are confusing. If you think that the sugar is in solid state, but if we place in a container, then it takes the shape of the container. It means whether it is going to change its shape? No. Why it is? Because the shape of the sugar is teeny, that is crystal of the sugar. It means if we are going to transfer the sugar crystal in any container, it will remain as such. It is not going to change the shape. It means the shape of solid and the volume of solid will remain fixed. To the next one, if we take another example as a sponge, whether we can compress a sponge? No. Why it is so? Why the sponge is compressible? Because we know in case of a sponge, it contains pores and the pores contain gases. It means when we press it, then the gas escapes out. That's why it is compressible, whereas solid is incompressible. It means what we know, solid has least interparticle space, they are closely packed, they have high density, and if they are closely packed, they cannot be compressed. They have strong force of attraction in between the particle. They have least kinetic energy, and only they have vibration motion. They have fixed shape. They have fixed volume, Let us discuss the next state, that is the liquid state. Liquid state. As we see here, in this case, this shows the particle of the liquid state. In solid state, they are compactly packed. In case of liquid state, they have somewhat more spaces in between them in comparison to solid state. It means they have lesser force of attraction in comparison to solid. They are somewhat more free to move, so for that they have greater kinetic energy. To the next, they are also incompressible because the interparticle space is lesser but greater than the solid state and lesser than the gas state. Let us discuss the property of the liquid state. We know the liquid, it has fixed volume but not fixed shape. Why it is so? Because of the force of attraction. It means that force of attraction in the liquid state is not such much appreciable to fix the state of the liquid. It means the force of attraction between the particles of the liquid is not such much stronger to fix their position so that they have a definite shape. To the next, why they have fixed volume? Because that force is such much appreciable to cling the particle together. It means they are not free to escape. That's why they have fixed volume. The reason of fixed volume and not fixed shape is only and only the force of attraction. The next, it has fixed volume but not fixed shape. The next, they does not fill the container in which they are kept. This also states that they have fixed volume because of appreciable force of attraction. To the next, we know the liquid has fixed volume but not fixed shape. It means when we pour a liquid into conical beaker to a conical flask to a cylindrical beaker, then its shape changes and it takes the shape of the container in which it is kept. Why it is so? Because of lesser force of attraction in comparison to solid state. To the next, they does not fill the container. It means they are not such much free. The molecule have some appreciable force of attraction. Therefore, they cling together and they not fill the container in which they are kept. It means they have fixed volume. To the next, they are incompressible. Why they are incompressible? Because they have lesser interparticle space in comparison to gas state. So for that, the solid and liquid states are incompressible. To the next, they have less force of attraction. Force of attraction in between the particle in comparison to solid state. But they have greater force of attraction in comparison to gas state. It means in liquid state, when we compare it with the solid state, they have lesser force of attraction in comparison to solid state, but have greater force of attraction in comparison to gas state. So the next, if they have somewhat lesser force of attraction, it means they are somewhat free to move. It means their particle have greater kinetic energy in comparison to solid state. It means the particles of liquid state have lesser force of attraction in comparison to solid state, therefore they have more kinetic energy. To the next, in case of liquid state, the particles of the liquid state have lesser force of attraction, therefore they have random motion. They have random motion. What we discuss? A liquid state has fixed volume but not fixed shape. They does not fill. Why is this so? Because of force of attraction. They does not fill the container in which they are kept. To the next, they are incompressible. It means they have less force of, and they have least interparticle space. So for that, they are incompressible. To the next, they have less force of attraction in between the particles in comparison to solid state. To the next, they have lesser kinetic energy in comparison to gaseous state, but greater kinetic energy in comparison to solid state. They have random motion. To the next, they have greater interparticle space in comparison to solid state. It means they have greater interparticle space in comparison to solid state. We have discussed liquid state. To the next, we will discuss the gaseous state. Let us see the gaseous state. The particle, when we compare the gaseous state with the solid and liquid and gaseous state, what we see, the particle of the gaseous state are far away from each other. When they are far away from each other, they have least density. They have greater interparticle space. They have lesser force of attraction. They have more kinetic energy. They have random motion in comparison to other two states of matter. The next, they have greater interparticle space, therefore they are compressible.